best thing she could be. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Troy Rawlings here. Welcome to another exciting episode of Meet the. And today we got a good one here. We're gonna meet the Mississippi Multimedia Mogul, the man himself, international radio, talk show, TV host, magazine editor-in-chief. Many of you in the industry already know him, but I get to interview the interviewer today. Make some noise for our wonderful, we may not hear you making noise because, wherever you are, but make some noise for Mr. Cyrus Webb. How are you, Cyrus?
Doing great, Troy. Thank you so much for the invite. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Cyrus know when I give him this look, I'm like, Cyrus was here in Los Angeles handling some business. He brought me in for a great interview, which I was trying to get him an interview. And I realized Cyrus actually has an office in Los Angeles, and it's not far from where I was a little hot about it. All right, without further ado, we get right in. So for the people who don't know who Cyrus Webb is, you've been in radio now. I know you've been doing your show for 16 years, but how long have you been in radio? 16 years?
16 years, yeah.
So what was the passion for that media? Because I know you have a background in the arts and poetry, and you love writing, I take it, but because you have a passion for authors, but what drew you towards radio?
Actually, it was not a plan of mine to do radio. I was doing speaking at the time, Troy, when I was approached back in 2003. I don't know if you're aware of this. A lot of my audience knows I'm a suicide attempt survivor. And so when I moved back to Mississippi, I was sharing my story and basically trying to encourage, mostly younger audiences, but also I would be invited to speak at other events. And I spoke at this event, I never will forget, in July 2003, and this gentleman comes up to me and he says, I really like your voice tone. Have you ever thought about doing radio? And I said, no, I've never thought about doing radio. And he says, well, I own a radio station and I'd like to give you an opportunity. That gentleman is Charles Evers, the brother of Med Grabbers, who owns a radio station in Jackson, Mississippi. And he gave me my start in July 2003, and I've been on radio ever since.
You never know. That's a prime example of you never know how big your testimony can be and what doors open up. You just never know what's in the plan of it all. So July 2003, you start in radio. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot in entertainment and in media and things like that to, I think, to initially find your voice. You may know what you want to do, but to find your voice, you've honed a niche that's seemingly simple. From the outside looking in, it's a well-oiled machine. But how did you know that you had a gift to bring out of people? You know what I'm saying? It's because it takes a gift to be able to bring stuff out of people and promote people and enjoy doing it. You can tell that you enjoy what you do.
I do. But the first episode was a mess because that's why I was laughing when you were saying that, because
over 16 years later.
I didn't come into this just ready. I mean, he offered me the opportunity, but what I did not realize at the time, Troy, was I still had to find my voice. He had an idea for what the show should be. What I didn't know, and this is why I tell people always do your research, I did not realize that he wanted me to have a talk format like a drive time show where people would call in. I would discuss it. I didn't know that's what he had in mind for the program. So when he first offered me the opportunity, I was so excited. I didn't ask really any questions. I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, you'll come on. You'll talk about things that you're doing in the arts and people can call in. And he says, sometimes you may have guests. And I was like, okay, cool. So the show was initially not called Conversations. It was called Let's Talk with Cyrus Webb for one episode. Because I got into the first episode and I'm telling people, well, for one thing, people thought I was white. That was the first thing. And the station
doesn't matter. It's like, great, they start seeing you live. It's like, hey.
Right. Exactly, right? So I had that strike. They're like, who is this who is this white man? So I'm on the radio. So of course I'm telling people, if you have any questions, call in. If you have something, no one was calling in. They didn't know who I was because it was a totally different area than where I had made my name and the arts and and speaking. But let me tell you what saved me. 15 minutes into this half-hour debacle, the producer says you have a caller. The caller was a friend of mine in Biloxi, Mississippi, who was listening online. Troy, I didn't even know the show could be heard online. I thought it was only on the radio. So this show, really, I knew nothing. And so she's like, "Oh, Cyrus, I'm listening to you on the radio." And she's an artist. And something, I say it was God, told me to ask her to tell our audience about herself. And when she started, I knew that's what I was supposed to be doing. Not talking about me, but letting other people share their stories and share their work. And by the second episode, the show was called Conversations with Cyrus Webb. And now it's Conversations Live, but that's how it all began.
Now, I like the fact that, there's a level of transparency that I think is necessary when you're doing anything in entertainment, especially to draw in. If you love what you do, you're very transparent. And you and I have talked a number of times. We just met in person, but you mentioned something key. You may not know this, Troy, but I'm a suicide survivor. Mm-hmm. In this time of, when did you get comfortable with talking about that? It seems like we're in a time of mental health awareness like never before, where a lot of the stigmas have been are being, destroyed, and little by little, people are starting to tell their stories from a healthy place, not just from a place of pity or wanting pity or place of anger, but to say, hey, either I need help or I want to help somebody by letting you know, me too. Look, this I went through too. Yeah. So, in talking about that, how did you? It seems like this has become a saving grace, but how did you come from that place to here?
Right. And I appreciate the question. I think what happened, I was living in New York, my last suicide attempt. I actually attempted 3 times in my life. And I was living in New York at the time when I tried the last time. And when I moved back to Mississippi, had to file for bankruptcy at 22 years old because my doctor bills were high. and basically had to restart my life. But I also want to say this, Troy. The reason why I decided to share my story is because my story is unique, but I'm not a person that is an anomaly in a lot of ways. The reason why I attempted suicide was because growing up, people told me I didn't go through abuse or have things going on like that. People told me how great I was going to be and what the greatness they saw in me, and I didn't see it in myself. And I was afraid of disappointing people, letting them down. I mean, I was a smart kid, but I didn't think I was a special kid. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I thought if I took myself out of the equation, that I wouldn't be a disappointment to them. Ironically, I became exactly what they saw in me. So that's what made me start wanting to share the story, because, I tell people when people, try to attempt suicide, yes, sometimes it is bullying. Yes, sometimes it is, trouble at home. Yes, sometimes it's abuse. But sometimes it's just that they don't feel like they're enough. And that's what it was in my case. I didn't think I wasn't, even though people were telling me. I never had anyone tell me what I couldn't do until I became an adult. But growing up, growing up, I was always told, you're going to be, in fact, my name means the shining one. That's what Cyrus means. And so, so that was my thing. So I think the reason why I've had the success, Troy, honestly, is because I have empathy for people who come to me and say, yes, I've achieved this, but I still don't feel important. Or, yeah, I have this. I mean, that empathy factor, I think, is what connects me to people, because I know what that feels like to not have the feeling in yourself, to believe in yourself, to think that you're worthy of where you are.
And thank you so much for that. It's something that even you speaking now, you're speaking to me. There were times in my life where it was the abandonment that caused me to want to lean towards suicide, and the pressure, like you said, the mental pressure of it all. And I can't take this. I feel like a failure. what, for those that may be watching and that are experiencing that that transition. What's so funny is we hear transition, and I think before recently we think transition, oh, I'm just going to the next thing. And transition, we start putting more weight on it now because transition is serious, and we go through different transitions in life, faith to faith, glory to glory, step to step, business to business, whatever it's going to be, we go to another transition. And in the birthing process, transition is the period where if the mother stops pushing, she can kill herself and the baby.
Yeah.
So what do you say to the person that's at the point of transition? Like I said, were you an introvert before your attempts? People were already.
I was, and I was that kid that my punishment had to be to go outside because I would stay in my room and leave.
That right.
So my mom would say, "Go outside and play." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go outside and play." There are people out there. I don't want to go. This is no lie. I'm being totally real. Even today, in all that I do around people, my happy place is coming back to my home, coming back to my hotel room, and just being in silence. That's where I feel the happiest and the most at peace. But everything else, I realize comes with the territory. But that is where the joy is for me. When people get excited about going out, I get excited about coming home. That's my happy place.
So for those, and thank you so much. For those that are, of course, if you're watching now, you're definitely watching on YouTube. We'll have the full interview, and me and Cyrus could talk for hours, but we can't. But I want to get into now. What came first, the radio show? I know the radio came before TV. But was it the radio show and then the writing in the magazine, or were you always writing? Was writing a release for you, or?
Yeah, I was always writing, and that's the funny thing. I mean, I'm a very simple guy. I've said that to you, even when we met in person. I've always been a determined. After the last suicide attempt, I was emboldened because I realized that I was here for a reason. And so even before I was approached about doing the radio show, I was literally, Troy, writing books in Word. You've heard of those chapbooks, right, that you staple? Right. I was writing these books, stapling them with a colored piece of paper, and selling them at events. That's what I was doing. I mean, I was literally doing, that's how I started off. Now, it's gone beyond that, but that's literally where I started. I mean, I've always been kind of gangster when it comes to that kind of thing. I mean, I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't have a book deal, but you know what I can do? I have Word. So I'm going to take this, go to Office Depot. And that's and people bought it. That's the thing. People were paying me for it. $5. Then I went up to $10 as my name started spreading. I literally was being paid to go outside the state with this little chapbook, Troy, and speak at events and sell those chapbooks. So, yeah, writing has always been there. But, yeah, the radio kind of gave me an amplified platform. And so after the radio show in 2003, I mean, it was 6 months in, and the response was crazy. Because I started, then once I transitioned after that first episode, people were reaching out to me and saying, hey, I want to talk about, teenage pregnancy prevention, or I want to talk about, HIV prevention and education. And, so I started bringing people in from the community. But what I didn't know, like I told you that first episode that my friend was listening online, people outside the state were listening. So then publishers outside the state were like, hey, we have this guy coming through for a book tour. We'd like to get him on your show. Or that's how I met C Murder. Was through people were like, hey, this is guy in Mississippi. He has a really good program. And so it kind of built from there. So in 2004, people were like, hey, we would like to be able to see you, which was a nightmare for me. That was not in.
So I want to mention that. I want to hit that, and then before we get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go from introvert.
Yeah.
To the gripping fear, and for people that don't understand mental health suicide, mental depression, especially with men. We go through it. We're at a higher rate of suicide than anybody. The reason, and we try to, if we can't figure it out here, it's a fight or flight, and our flight mentally turns into maybe it'd be better if I'm not here. So for people that don't understand that, that's a mental thing. And when you look at people, who was it, Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother, and all these men who are professionals who've committed suicide, and a lot of times you say, oh my God, Anthony Bourdain, he seemed like he had all this stuff going on. You don't understand what's going on here when it feels like, especially when you feel like you're not going to make it to the pinnacle. And then when you go and think, am I going to make it to the next pinnacle? So there's a lot of things there. So you went from being an introvert to putting it out. How much did that push you past in your healing process? The fact that, because we talked about this when we met, someone asked, what keeps you going, Troy? And I said, well, for one, God. I said, two, I just don't have enough quit in me to stop. And three, I have too many wins. Yeah. When you sold that first $5 book that you stapled together, it was like, it does something to you because it's an affirmation. Right. So for that person that's watching now, you said something key. I'm too gangster. That means whatever you have to do, you're going to get it. Right. But I want to talk about this pinpoint because you've been able to effectively monetize what you're doing. And a lot of people they look at you and say, oh, he has not followers. You got people that have millions of Instagram followers, millions of YouTube followers, all this stuff, and haven't learned how to monetize anything. Right. So, but you did something clever. If you want to talk about it, you just did what you normally do and started doing what we always do. You was like, you know what? I like this restaurant. I'm going to talk about it. I like this book. I'm going to talk about it. And you do the thing that you probably swipe past all the time. You started doing reviews. Yeah. How did that help you build your brand with brands? Yeah.
You know, that's a good question. And let me tell you what I believe the key to that has been for me, Troy, is that I really believe what I say. I'm not going to tell you I like something I don't like. I'm not going to try to sell you something. I'm really just sharing my experience. And I think that is what people like. I'm a person, I'm so simple and country in so many ways. I get excited about small things. Like when I was coming to Los Angeles a couple months ago, 2 of my zipper pulls broke on my luggage. So I went on Amazon and found out they sell replaceable zipper pull. I didn't even know. I thought I was going to have the whole zipper replaced. I was so excited to share that. And I made a video about it saying, hey guys, did you know that they sell these? They're only $7 for a set of 4. And so I was showing them how to put it on the luggage, and people were buying it. They're like, oh my goodness, I need that for my jacket. So I was like, so I get excited. I don't go into it thinking, how can I make money on this? Or, how can I influence people to, when I have an experience, I just like to share the experience. And I think that's been the key for me because people are like, you know what, Cyrus? I want to share that experience with you. And that's how it's been able to happen. And like you were talking about the reviews, that's, when I read a book, because I read a lot of books, I like to share the experience. And so when people would say, Cyrus, what'd you think about that book? I'm like, you know what? I wrote a review about that book. Or what'd you think of that song? I'm like, you know what? I wrote a review of that. And they would go and like it, and then they would share it. And then that led to the brands reaching out to me and saying, hey, we'd like to get you, to promote this or, share this. You like this. How about we send you another one, so you can be able to share it with your audience. Or let me tell you, I didn't even tell you about this part. I have 15 brands that use my name as promo codes. So if you want, you can just type in, Cyrus 20 or Cyrus whatever, the numbers we choose at the end to be able to get a discount on a particular product. So
and
that's
been a real blessing. You have affiliate brand, you have affiliate marketing that happens to organically, as we like to say nowadays, organically because you just being you. So what's the biggest? I'm sorry. Oh, I definitely want you to go. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that's been the surprising thing because I didn't know what I was doing. And that saying, you don't know what you don't know. I didn't go into it saying, I wonder how I can make money on this. I wonder how I can do this. I didn't go into it with that, but then I was like, okay, you know what? If I can do it, I want to make sure I'm true to it, right? I mean, so perfect example. When you and I met, the guest I had on after you, Renee Lawless, when I was walking her back to the office, she looked at my shirt. She said, "I really like that shirt. You got it from Amazon, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Y'all don't understand what's about to happen to me. Y'all gonna see me like, man, you have such a slick look, and I'm like, really?
There you go. Click up there. You can be able to get it to you. You can look like this too.
Right.
But you know
But
what? But Troy, just like with your audience trusts you, and that's what's happened with me. My audience trusts me, so they know. Again, I have never owned a pair of Nikes in my life, ever. I've never been. That's never been my thing. Reeboks. I've never owned a pair of Reeboks, but I like New Balance, and I would be seen sometimes in my New Balance. So who reached out to me? New Balance. So so they sent me some New Balance shoes, and so so that kind of thing. So it has to be true to who I am, or else I don't do it.
And I think that's the biggest. If there's no other takeaway outside of the, first off, let me thank you. And before we get out of here, I'll give you all information. But I want to wrap up with this. The biggest takeaway that anyone can take away from this is that Cyrus Webb is being authentically Cyrus, who he was, who he has become, and who he will be. And it comes across in everything you do. And it's refreshing, especially each and every day when you meet somebody and they are who you see.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I get that a lot. They're like, oh, I remember when I first came here to Los Angeles, some comedians pulled me up because I got an opportunity to host at a comedy spot. I was the host. And to come into Los Angeles, and within 8 months of me coming here, I'm hosting at one of the main comedy stages. People were like, they saw my flyer and they're like, oh, you probably think he all that. And when they met me, they pulled me in the back. Comedians actually said, yeah, man, you pretty cool. I was like, thanks. He said, no, we thought you were stuck on yourself.
Yeah.
I was like, why? He said, because the flyer. I was like, it was supposed to promote.
Yeah.
But the misconception
Mm-hmm.
is this perception is everything. But
Right.
It's great. The great thing is that we have people that we can touch tangibly, like yourself. And it's not hard to get in touch with Cyrus Webb. It's not hard. I told you, we were joking about it. Everybody I talked to, that's my man, Cyrus. There's so many women say that. That's my man, Cyrus. You got some kind of late night show I don't know about that
Hey. Yes, it's called Facebook.
It's called Facebook. Yes. And he works. Look, man, Cyrus, thank you so much. Before we get out of here, because we like I said, we can talk about it. Give everybody information how they can get in touch with you, the best way to reach out to you.
Well, Troy, again, I want to say this because we didn't say this part. So I guess I'm supposed to, this is where I earned the money he paid me to brag on him. So I met Troy 7 years ago on the radio. As he said, we recently just met in person. But Troy, I want to say congratulations to you on all that you've been able to do to use your platform, not only to make people laugh, as you and I talked about, but also to make people think, and then to have conversation starters like what you've been able to do. As long as you don't change your show to Conversations Live, I won't send my people at you. And, just keep doing what you do. Keep doing what you're doing, man. But they can easily find me at cyruswebb.com. It's CYRUSWEBB. There's all my social media. On Twitter, I'm Cyrus Webb. On Facebook, I'm Cyrus Webb. Believe it or not, someone took Cyrus Webb on Instagram. Who would want to be me? I don't know. But I'm Cyrus Webb Presents on Instagram is where you guys can find me there.
I appreciate you so much, brother. Much more to come. Stay in tune with Cyrus Webb and any book authors. Reach out to them. Get some stuff. Any product people, any stuff like that. You need to get all your stuff to Cyrus. Find out where, send him everything. He can handle it. And if you really want a truthful review, if you don't hear back from him, then you know.
Well, it's funny you said that, Troy. Let me tell you this real quick. I do tell people, if I read your book, because if I tell you I'm going to read your book, I'm going to read it. But if I don't like the book, I'm not going to write a review. Because I realize that with the algorithm, if I give you a 1 or 2 stars, that's going to bring your score down. I will reach out to you and say, hey, this wasn't really my thing, that I will tell you that yourself, person to person. but I won't write a review. So other times people will say, "Hey, you didn't write write a review for my book," and I'll say, "Well, it wasn't really my thing."
So y'all know, no need to act crazy. If he don't
Right.
call you, hey, Cyrus, I ain't heard from you in a while. Yeah, I've been a little busy. He's like, all right, Cyrus, I'll talk to you later.
If I tell you it wasn't really my thing, 'cause that's my line I use. It wasn't really my thing. And let me tell you why I say that though, Troy. I've read things that I personally didn't like, and other people loved it. So I'm like, you know what? For myself, it just didn't either hold my attention. It wasn't my thing. But other people are like, oh wow, that was great. Can't wait till the next one. And I was like, you finished it? I can't even finish it.
You read the same book today?
I'm just being real, But there really is something for everyone. That is a very true statement for sure.
Cyrus Webb, it's been a pleasure, brother. We're gonna keep in
Same
touch.
here, man. Thank you again for the invite.
Yes, cyruswebb.com. On Instagram, it's Cyrus Webb Presents.
That's it.
Information below in the YouTube link or IGTV. Thanks so much, brother. Love you. Talk to you soon.
Man. Take care.